The hidden risks of low-carb or high-fat diets, how they impact energy production and thyroid function. Introduction. Low-carb, high-fat diets like the ketogenic and carnivore diets have gained popularity due to their initial benefits in weight management, inflammation reduction, and improved metabolic markers. However, while these diets may produce short-term improvements, long-term adherence can lead to significant health challenges by impairing glucose metabolism and thyroid function. The key issue lies in the suppression of glucose metabolism, which is the most efficient energy pathway in the mitochondria. When this pathway is compromised, mitochondrial function declines, leading to reduced energy production and a host of metabolic disturbances. In this article, we'll explore the underlying mechanisms that make low-carb, high-fat diets unsustainable for long-term health, the impact of impaired glucose metabolism on mitochondrial function, and practical strategies to maintain metabolic balance while minimizing the harmful effects of omega-6 fats like linoleic acid, La. Why glucose metabolism matters for mitochondrial health. 1. Glucose, the most efficient fuel for energy production. Glucose metabolism is the body's preferred and most efficient pathway for producing cellular energy in the form of adenosine triphosphate, ATP. Through oxidative phosphorylation in the mitochondria, glucose yields significantly more ATP than fatty acid oxidation when glucose metabolism is suppressed. As occurs in low-carb, high-fat diets, the body shifts to using fat for energy, which is less efficient and produces fewer ATP molecules per molecule of fuel. This reduction in ATP production leads to a lower energy state, forcing the body to downregulate essential biological processes to conserve energy. Over time, this can impair multiple systems, including thyroid function, hormone balance, and immune response. 2. Impaired glucose metabolism lowers thyroid function. Thyroid function is closely tied to mitochondrial energy production. Low-carb, high-fat diets reduce glucose availability, forcing the liver to rely on gluconeogenesis to produce glucose from protein. This process is metabolically taxing and triggers a stress response, elevating cortisol and reducing the conversion of thyroxine, T4, to the active triiodothyronine, T3. With lower levels of T3, the thyroid becomes sluggish, contributing to hypothyroid symptoms such as fatigue, cold intolerance, dry skin, and slow metabolism. Long-term suppression of glucose metabolism can lead to thyroid dysfunction and metabolic slowdown, ultimately resulting in impaired immune function and decreased resilience to stress. The role of linoleic acid, La, in mitochondrial dysfunction. 1. Omega-6 fats, a hidden driver of disease. One reason ketogenic and carnivore diets often produce short-term improvements is that they significantly reduce the intake of omega-6 fats, particularly linoleic acid, La. La, abundant in vegetable oils, processed foods, and seed oils, is a primary driver of inflammation and mitochondrial dysfunction. La disrupts mitochondrial energy production by generating oxidized linoleic acid metabolites, OXLAMS, which induce oxidative stress damage cell membranes and impair mitochondrial respiration. This results in lower ATP production and increased oxidative damage, further compromising cellular energy. 2. The double-edged sword of low-carb diets and La reduction. While low-carb diets reduce La intake, which temporarily benefits mitochondrial health, the long-term suppression of glucose metabolism eventually offsets these advantages. Without sufficient glucose to support mitochondrial energy production, the body remains in a low-energy state, leading to downregulation of essential biological functions. Understanding the body's energy budget, why it matters. 1. Energy allocation, balancing biological processes. The body operates with a finite pool of energy, which it distributes among various processes, including metabolism, immune response, tissue repair, and cognitive function. When energy production drops below the required threshold, the body prioritizes essential functions while downregulating less critical processes. For instance, during periods of low energy availability, the body may reduce reproductive hormone production, impair thyroid function, and compromise immune resilience. This energy-saving mechanism is a survival adaptation, but when prolonged, it leads to chronic health issues. 2. Measuring your energy production. One simple and practical way to assess your body's energy production is by monitoring your body temperature. A rise in body temperature after meals indicates increased energy production and efficient glucose metabolism. To track your metabolic health, take your body temperature 30 to 40 minutes after breakfast and again at midday. A rise in temperature suggests that your body is efficiently converting food into energy. If your body temperature remains low or drops, it may indicate metabolic dysfunction and a need to adjust your dietary intake to restore glucose metabolism. How to protect mitochondrial health and maintain metabolic balance. 1. Restore glucose metabolism for long-term energy. To support mitochondrial function and prevent energy deficits, it's essential to maintain adequate glucose intake. Incorporate nutrient-dense whole food sources of carbohydrates such as root vegetables, sweet potatoes, carrots, and beets. Fruits rich in fiber and antioxidants, berries, apples, and citrus fruits. Properly prepared grains and legumes, quinoa, brown rice, and lentils. 2. Minimize linoleic acid intake to protect mitochondria. Reducing omega-6 fats, particularly linoleic acid La, protects mitochondrial health and prevents oxidative stress. Eliminate or minimize foods high in La, including vegetable oils, soybean, corn, canola, and safflower oils, processed and fried foods, packaged snacks containing seed oils. 3. Support thyroid function with nutrient-rich foods. To maintain optimal thyroid function, consume foods rich in iodine, selenium, and zinc, such as wild-caught seafood, salmon, sardines, and mackerel, grass-fed meats and organ meats, seaweed, and iodine-rich vegetables. 4. Incorporate intermittent glucose cycles for metabolic flexibility. Cycling between periods of moderate carbohydrate intake and short periods of fasting can enhance metabolic flexibility. This approach helps the body adapt to different energy sources while preserving mitochondrial function. 5. Monitor your metabolic health regularly. Track key metabolic markers such as fasting glucose and insulin levels, body temperature response after meals, thyroid hormone levels, T3, T4, and reverse T3. Conclusion. Low-carb, high-fat diets may offer initial metabolic improvements by reducing linoleic acid intake and stabilizing blood sugar levels. However, prolonged suppression of glucose metabolism impairs mitochondrial function, reduces ATP production, and disrupts thyroid function. As mitochondrial energy declines, the body enters a low-energy state, down-regulating critical biological processes to conserve energy. To maintain long-term health, focus on restoring glucose metabolism, minimizing linoleic acid intake, and supporting thyroid function with nutrient-dense foods. By optimizing mitochondrial energy production and preserving metabolic flexibility, you can prevent the harmful effects of prolonged low-carb diets and sustain lasting health and vitality.